Good morning, everybody. At the outset, I would like to congratulate all the lovely women, all the successful women who were here on the stage a little while ago for all their accomplishments. Congratulations. Every year, Raju Bhatia, he organizes this event with so much of passion, so much of energy. And every time he reaches out to me and he would invite me to be part of this event, I really feel elated and honored to be part of this event, to meet with other successful women, leaders, and especially take in all the excitement that Raju manages to create, and also an occasion to renew friendship with my lovely friend here, Tarita, and make new friends like Priya, like Alama, and several others. So thank you, Raju, and thank you, Alok, for inviting me yet again this year to be amongst this wonderful audience. As I was sitting here this morning and listening to various speakers, firstly, my heart goes out to Priya for two reasons. We instantaneously connected, and also for the new life that she has defined for herself, the new purpose that she has defined for herself. What a phenomenal story, what a powerful story that was. And of course, we heard other speakers this morning talk about how they have created a roadmap for themselves, carved out a niche for themselves, and how they have become trailblazers in their own areas of choice. And when I hear these stories, when I heard these stories today, and of course, we hear such successful stories around us. At the same time, in the last 30, 40 years that I have been part of work around India and other parts of the world, particularly in India, when I also get an opportunity to travel around and work with those segments who are not that privileged and that successful, or who are not part of the mainstream, I get an opportunity to reflect upon what is it that has made some of us continue to work and continue to aspire, continue to build new pathways for ourselves, and then there are those who are not that fortunate. So today I would like to share with you a few thoughts, few perspectives from the experiences of working with women from both these categories. Global Talent Track, that's a company that I set up around 12 years back. And the foundation that was set up around 10 years ago. Both these entities work in the domain of making people employable, making young people, making women, impacting the lives of those who are persons with disabilities, LGBTQ community members, and particularly women who are first-time college goers in their families, enabling them to achieve their dreams and find their aspirational careers. This has been my journey or my purpose for the last almost 15 years of my life after having been part of the corporate world. And one of the early supporters for me to pursue this journey has been Tarita, who's right here. With her own successful education venture, she has been hugely supportive of an initiative like this, which works with institutions like hers and others, around 5,000 such institutions across the country, where almost 50% of the people that we work with are women. So What I'm going to talk about is from the experience of working with women from these parts of the world who have similar aspirations, who have similar dreams, but only few make it, and many just get left behind. And as successful leaders here, many of you are trying to transform the lives of some of these women, and many of you are actually working with women, and many of you will have an opportunity to work with women in the near future. And what really stands out in terms of some of them not being able to really make the cut is primarily because they lack an identity for themselves. And I can tell you that when I talk about identity, it is because of the environment in which they grow up. That environment does not help them create an identity while they are at home, does not instill confidence that they can go out and do something for themselves. And most importantly, even after they find a job, at the earliest opportunity, or you can say when there are some hurdles found, they are not really able to continue with their careers because they feel home, family comes first, and that they cannot really manage the two. So this is the reason why we find many of them, after joining the corporate world, actually not being able to cope. And after the first couple of years, or maybe after 3 years, India has a very depressing statistics amongst all the South Asian countries, where the number of women, the percentage of women in the workforce, in the formal sector, is actually dropping instead of increasing, despite education levels going up, despite the gross national enrollment ratio actually looking up, despite the fact that in every institution today, we have more or less 45 to 50% of the students' population being women. So when the country is really trying to become the third most successful economy in the world, how can women get left behind? How can a nation actually move forward if women cannot really be part of that economy, contributing towards the GDP of this economy, is a question that I worry about. At the same time, if they are given a little bit of a support, and if they are made to believe in themselves, and that's something we talk about the policies, we talk about the ecosystem that is available today. Unfortunately, all of these women are left to fend for themselves. But I'm happy to mention that in a little way, we manage to impact close to almost 50,000 women every year. And by being able to coach them, upskill them, and continue to mentor them over a period of time, we have seen some significant changes. Some of them are lasting. And in a small way, our attempt has enabled some of these women to change their mind and to continue in their path towards progress. And I can tell you a story. I mean, I can tell you many stories, but I'll just give you one. I'd like to share a case study of a woman whose husband, and when I'm talking about first-time college goers, majority of them in their families, Tarita can vouch for this because she has many students of such background joining their institutions. Many of them come from small towns. Many of them are not privileged like us, growing up in large cities. And their fathers or their families are typically, many of them, farmers, auto rickshaw drivers, daily wage laborers, and so on and so forth. but they have a dream for their children, including the girl child. And they save up, they take loans, and they send their children to colleges where they have to pay, where they have to invest a lot. And they do not have an ecosystem in their homes, in their families, where they can ask them, what is a career that I should make? How should I really go on and figure out in this big world, where should I be moving towards? So when we have an opportunity to interact with them, it is so heartening to find that a girl whose father is a carpenter manages to get a job in one of the top IT companies, the top 5 IT companies, and suddenly, overnight, the family income actually trebles, or in some cases, it becomes 5 times what the family is able to earn, which is a fantastic beginning for families like these. And there are many, many such families in the 50,000 plus women that we address every year who are from such humble background. And what was most heartening for me was we hired such a person whose husband happened to be a carpenter. And today she is the regional head of one of our zonal operations in the south of India. And her own daughter is today working in one of the multinational companies and doing all of us proud. So as I said, there are many such stories which make me feel super thrilled that we have been able to give them an identity. We have been able to make them feel committed towards not only changing their own life, but changing their daughters' lives, their families' lives. And they are integral to the way this country is going to grow in the days to come. The foundation, which was set up 10 years ago, we started looking at working with women, again, from the marginalized segment of the society. Now, their struggle is a very, very different kind of a struggle. Their struggle is, once you're married, then your primary goal is your husbands, your sons, your other male members of the family come back in the afternoon, and you have to cook and be ready to serve them. You have to take care of the cattle, which may belong to the family. You cannot simply step out of the houses. But I'm happy to say that in a place like Umret, which is about 2 hours distance from Ahmedabad, or in the communities around Pune, or for that matter, even in Mumbai, in the communities, when I say communities where people do not have proper homes, but they somehow manage to survive, in these kind of communities, we have actually managed to work with them and help them also come out of the homes, learn skills, whether it is to do with handicrafts or whether it is to what we call them as home chefs, make their own products, help them build out a digital platform called V-Chimney so that more people outside their immediate vicinity would be able to get familiarized with these products. And by giving them design inputs, by giving them opportunities to exhibit their products in the corporate world, they are able to find new customers and expand their horizons. And I'm very, very happy to tell you that in Umred, 3 years ago, we brought together a group of women comprising of 12 women from a village. And in this village, when we wanted to go and start doing work, the first question everybody had was, our menfolk will not let us come out of the home. What do we do? So we said, don't worry. In your village, we will find a place where we will bring all the equipments so that we can get you trained. The question there was, where do we set up that center? So can you believe this? When the women started believing in themselves that they have the ability to make the change, they got together, they made a plot, and they went to the village mukhya and they told the village mukhya, whose wife was also very keen to be part of this whole initiative, that see, next year we are not going to make you the village mukhya unless and until you give us this space where the center is going to be functional. And based on that kind of a persistence they had, the village mukhya relented and they could come out and start learning the embroidery skills. And today, these 12 women have formed a self-help group called Prerna. And I'm so proud to let you know that in that village, these women, on an average today, based on the orders they have started receiving from Ahmedabad and Baroda and from online methods, on an average, they are able to earn 7,000 rupees per month in that group. And that is a very big deal in a village like that. Not only that, to begin with, they all needed some sewing machines and some equipments. So we stood a guarantee, got them the loans, and the plan was that they will return the loans in about 10 months. But can you believe it? They worked so hard that within the 5 months, they managed to return the loan. And now the bank is knocking at their door saying, why don't you take more funds from us? And these women have saved up. And last week, they came to our office in Umred and said, you know what, now we have got our own savings. Our men believe that now we are able to contribute towards families' expenditure. And we have saved up some money. And we are going on a tour of our own. And we would like you to join on our tour. And it really made us feel vindicated with this feeling that if women can give a little bit of a support to other women, there is absolutely no stopping. And that is something that we have experienced, and that is something that we continue to believe is really going to be the force which has the potential to change the future of this country. On that note, I want to just end by talking about some of us who are not really able to go beyond the so-called limits that are set for ourselves. And those limits are created or in our minds, sometimes thinking about the fact that there is this need for me to spend time with the family, the emotional connect which comes in the way. Yes, emotional connect is extremely important, but how do you really get over that guilt feeling is something that all of us need to work upon. And I also went through that guilt pangs when I was here in Mumbai. And by the way, how much time I have? 5 more minutes? Okay. So all of us go through this phase when you have small children and the early stage of your career. You have a different kind of sort of demands on your time. And then when children leave home, there is a different way of looking at your life. So I'm talking about that phase when I also went through this guilt feeling. And my daughter, we were living in Mumbai at that time, in Juhu, which was mainly surrounded by the school that she went to. Most of the families were somehow or the other associated with movies, Bollywood, and some of them maybe businesses. And I'm talking about 35, 40 years ago, there were very few women who were working in the corporate world. So rarely I would be going to the school, getting out of the car, and visiting the school. So my daughter often used to come over home and say, Mommy, you are the only person in my entire class who's never there to pick me up when the school finishes. Everybody's mummy is there and you never come. And she used to say this, and she's the only child. So she used to say this again and again, and I used to feel guilty about it. About 30 years later, I met with one of her friends in the airport, who was her classmate. And she came running to me, and she said, Auntie, I have been looking for you, and I have been wanting to tell you this. I said, what is it, Dipti? I'm so delighted that I'm seeing you today at the airport. She told me something which I just didn't know how to react. She said, Auntie, you know what? You used to come very rarely to our school. Karuna is my daughter, when Karuna was studying. But whenever I saw you coming out of the car with a handbag. And I used to think, one day I should become like her. So, and here she was, this girl. And I said, where are you these days, Dipti? She was working with Cisco in San Francisco, part of top crack team which was working on some strategic initiatives for Cisco. So what I wanted to tell you is that when I narrated this story to my daughter, soon after meeting with Dipti, and now my daughter, she's a physician scientist. She works in Memorial Sloan Kettering. And she's called out to, talk to other women who want to aspire, science and medicine and all of these, combining these two. It's a very difficult career. So she's invited to lecture in some of these circuits. And there she will cite me as an example, and she will say, my mother could work, and she gave me. So what I'm trying to say is that that's a passing phase. If we were to really give in to those kind of emotional demands, there is only so much that we can do. But if we tell ourselves that this is a passing phase, and soon there will be a time when the child will fly out of the nest, and there will be much more time and many more things to be done. And of course, there is that this whole thing about work-life balance, which is another thing which I'm asked very often by people. I mean, how do you, and today that's something that is talked about a lot in the corporate world. And a lot of young people, in fact, come in before work, before they join a workplace, they would say, how is the work-life balance here? Which means for them it is 9 to 5, and thereafter that's my time. It's time that the organization cannot demand. But I want to say again here, work-life balance is also a lot about what you're passionate about. So work does not mean it has to stop at 5. And those of you who are entrepreneurs, you would be able to appreciate that. Work is something that lives with you, stays with you, whatever you do, because thought process cannot be taken away. Again, because it is a Saturday or a Sunday. So my daughter was in class 10, and my husband and I, we had very, very tight schedule coming up soon after her exams, and she was going to give her board exam. And so we told her, see, you know what, after your board exams, I don't think we can take a break, as most families do. So we'll have to see what we got to do. So that was a time when both my husband and I, in addition to our corporate careers, had also had this excitement of wanting to do PhD, and we had signed up at IIT Mumbai for doing PhD work. So little did we realize there is going to be so much of work that we have to do for our PhD work, aside from being CEOs of our respective businesses. So what we finally decided was, we got to do our PhD-related work. Our daughter has to do her preparatory work, but we do not have much time left to go on a holiday. So the preparatory leave period that was given for her exams, we decided we are going to go away to Goa. And so in Goa, in the mornings, we will be at the beach for about 2 to 3 hours, and thereafter we would be in our rooms, all three of us sitting down and doing our studies and doing our work. And that's how we spent the 10 days just before her exams. And I must say that she passed out flying colors, and we also managed to finish our IIT PhD work. So what I'm trying to say is that if there is a will, there is always a way. And there is no question of saying, look, I got to break, I got to have this time, and I can't do it here. It's all in our mind. So these are some of the lessons I have learned from my own life, which I thought I will share with all of you, and encourage you to figure out how you can expand your time, how you can expand your horizon, and how all of us can make a collective effort to make this world a better place for more women, so that more women can accomplish a lot more than what they are currently being able to do, and therefore we can have a fantastic world that all of us can be proud about. Thank you very much, Raju.